Under the board's rules, speakers can only speak once per meeting for non-agenda public communication, either at today's general legislative session or tomorrow's land use legislative session, but not both sessions. Speakers may select which session to address the board at their own convenience.
My name is Leah Hogue, and I have the honor of working alongside 66 others in the bargaining unit with the SEIU 221 to secure the best possible contract. Today, I want to focus on the critical issues of recruitment and retention, which are affecting departments across the county, especially within the sheriff's office. Non-sworn civilians, employees such as dispatchers, detention nurses, and licensing clerks play an essential role in public safety. However, I want to specifically highlight the challenges facing the crime lab. I have been a latent print examiner for 24 years with our crime lab. And in that time, I have never seen an exodus like the one experienced in the last 6 years. As of today, 40 lab employees will have left out of a total of 59. I'm referring to forensic evidence technicians, criminalists, and latent print examiners. This is an alarming trend that should concern the Board of Supervisors and all Sandy County residents. Training a new forensic examiner takes about 18 to 24 months and costs approximately $350,000. Yet many employees use our lab as training ground before leaving for other agencies that offer more competitive wages. This cycle of turnover is not only costly, but severely impacts our ability to process evidence efficiently. As a result, evidence sits unexamined, delaying identification of suspects, hindering prosecutions, and ultimately affecting public safety. When considering the contract request, I urge you to prioritize competitive salaries and benefits. We want to attract and retain skilled professionals. We must offer compensation package that...
Thank you. Thank you.
Cesar Javier. Sir Anderson, breathe the clean air, drink the clean water, eat the clean food, so you won't be a victim like us. Ceramics kiln manufacturing, kiln operation in a residential zone designated community. I asked the land use official and they said, it's no violation. It is exempt. That's the ruling of Air Pollution Control District, which to us, in our attendance for almost 4 years, it is not an agency to fight, climate change or air pollution. It is an agency established to collect money, permits. And the governing board leadership is meant to look into the rules and do the weightlifting rituals. Yes, without even understanding what the rules are. This is not the fuel that is used to bake. It is the transformation from solid, wet with chemicals, metals like silica and lead. And what is the process at 2,000 to 2,004 degrees Fahrenheit? It becomes toxic gases. Sir, inhale the clean air and you will be cured right away and join us here. My God, land use people points to Air Pollution Control District. That's their issue. That's their concern. Environment and health from the county say, sir, go there. You kneel down. And we learned that Air Pollution Control District is not meant to fight air pollution, but to collect money.
Thank you. Your time is up, sir.
I'd like to remind everyone there's no clapping in the chamber. So if you'd like to show your appreciation or your support for what someone said, you can do it silent like that or put a thumbs up, but we're not clapping. Thanks.
Mark, that's hypocritical, Tara. People have been clapping all morning. Now, quoting the Times of San Diego.com.
Sorry, could you please pause your comment for a second? Pause this time. I want to clarify, as I've stated many times, but just to remind folks, there might be some confusion on this matter. When we are doing proclamations, you can show your support with clapping. When we're transitioned to public comment, and for the remainder of the board meeting, when we're talking about topics in front of the board, that's when we don't clap, and we try to be quiet to respect the speakers. So just wanted to make sure that that was clear, that we've now transitioned away from the proclamations and towards the business of the board meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's hypocritical. You can support people by clapping if you agree with what they're saying. Now, according to Times of San Diego.com, opponents say homeowners already pay for trash pickup through property taxes and thus would be charged twice for the same service if Measure B passes, end quote. Now, and I don't enjoy doing this, but Claudia should have informed you guys of this. Tara and Monica with Nora committed either negligence, gross negligence, or malfeasance. Now, basically, you need evidence of intent for this. Well, Jim Desmond proposed 2-3 months ago that our core functions be priorities, and you guys actually voted against that. And now they're proposing a trash fee, and we're $250 million in debt. And that's not because of any lack of federal funding. That's just simple corruption, and that they didn't get our core functions done. And if that was taken care of and there were extra things that you wanted to invest in, that would be different. But you aren't taking care of our core functions. Thanks for bringing that up, Jim. And now, when I was young, in like 1979, 1980, a lot of people don't know that you didn't just get food stamps now like an EBT card. People got apartments or rooms to rent. They got money for that. And there was no great debt. What's going on now with the inflation that's caused by the Federal Reserve and the wealth distribution being totally corrupted is just completely off the scale corruption. And nobody in government is addressing it. Nobody here will say a word.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. As the staff is bringing up the speaker's video, I want to note that what is about to be shown may be considered graphic for some of the viewers.
Hi, my name is Zora Fahim, president and founder of Los Angeles Alliance for Animals. Acts of cruelty against animals are now counted alongside felony crimes like arson, burglary, assault, and homicide in the FBI's expansive criminal database. Mrs. Reamer, what I hear you saying in my last public comment on February 11, 2025, after I presented the video of this horse with a broken leg that suffered an agonizing pain in your district, is that you're not listening to speakers. Deputy District Attorney Eric Bodner has never prosecuted Deborah Barkley for allegations of criminal animal cruelty of 40-plus horses on her ranch and has received almost 16,000 emails because he refused to prosecute this case. Take in mind, Deputy District Attorney Eric Bodner is the same DA that walked away from another hoarding case with 500-plus animals where a law enforcement deputy expressed severe concerns of animal cruelty on this ranch where we had an emaciated horse dying and he walked away from it. We visited Artesian Road on February 24, 2025, and California animal cruelty statutes are being violated. District Attorney Summer Stephan refused to meet with animal advocates to receive information her own district attorney does not have. So what I'm hearing from you, Mrs. Reamer, is that if a child was being starved by a man in a home, you would say we are going to monitor the situation, considering a criminal act has taken place. It's been 1 year since this horse died of severe colic in your district, and 2 years this neglected horse that died of emaciation in your district under your watch. This horse laid in its feces, stuck in District 5, died an agonizing death because I allege you don't care about crimes towards animals in our community, because this could have been prevented if you took action. The horses and dogs need to be removed now on Artesian Road. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Gambler here. I'm so glad I no longer need to curse at you guys. I just want to go ahead and let you all know what election law 18501 states. If you didn't, give me a second, let me find it. Here we go. Any public official who knowingly violates any of the provisions of the chapter and thereby aids in any way of the legal casting, attempting to cast a ballot, who continues to nullify any of the provisions of the chapter in order that fraud may happen. You are no longer able to hold office, Jim, and you could face 3 years in prison. Let me go ahead and explain why. I have asked the Board of Supervisors on, let me go ahead and figure out what day it was. Oh, yeah, 6/4/2024. I asked you guys because the San Diego Board of Registrar of Voters refused to let me look at the signatures coming out of homeless facilities. You guys helped block them. You guys filed a restraining order on me to prevent that. We could also discuss 6/25, my favorite performance at the Board of Supervisors meeting. We could also discuss 7/16, where I said, what, not even one sentence, and I was kicked out without any explanation? And then the very next day, Tara, you had a meeting with me where you explained to me that you were wrong. And you don't have a choice but to vote yes on particular items. This was caught on tape from Luke Skywalker and Audra. Both of them because you had a meeting because you knew you fucked up the day before.
Okay, Consuelo here. Just wanting to remind everyone that their one world government, UN agenda for the 21st century is quickly rolling in. In some ways, it's already here. While the masses are being purposely distracted with current events or fighting on social media about the orange man in command, there was the One Government Summit that just took place in Dubai on the 11th to the 13th. I guarantee not many on the planet knew about it. Musk was virtually in attendance there speaking on, get this, for the United States to delete entire agencies from the federal government as a part of his push under the Trump to radically cut spending and restructure its priorities. So whether you hate him or worship him, the Cheeto Bandito is in fact just another pawn ushering in the New World Order. This is a great time to be alive. There are choices to be made. We can continue on the hamster wheel, living and complying to a corrupt governmental system, doing as they say, questioning nothing, just keep paying your taxes and believing in the illusion that one day you'll be financially and set and happy. Well, as long as this system exists, that will never happen. Their system was not designed to have you thrive. It's evident. Look around. Anywhere you go, the majority of the people you cross paths with is struggling in some way. Governmental solutions are a facade. These meetings are only to have us believing that their system is working. So unplug from your programming devices, especially the TV. Don't believe that you're being programmed. Google this number, US 6506148B2. It's no longer a conspiracy theory. Your television is a brainwashing tool used to manipulate you. Remember, you were not born to just pay bills and die. It's time for a new system. It's time for people to realize their power.
Good morning. This is Laurie Palladino. We are calling in again today to express our deep concern for the horses currently languishing in untenable conditions on Artesian Road. These animals need to be removed immediately. They have suffered in inadequate conditions and have not had proper care. When will the San Diego County Board of Supervisors take animal welfare seriously? Those are sentient beings who can fall ill and suffer. They need proper food, water, and safe conditions in which to live. Please stop simply monitoring, and please take action to save these horses and dogs on Artesian Road. The FBI runs the National Incident-Based Reporting System. The NIBRS has been collecting detailed data from from participating law enforcement agencies on acts of animal cruelty. These include gross neglect, torture, and various forms of abuse. Prior to this year, crimes involving animals were lumped into an all other offenses category in the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting Program's annual Crime in the United States report, a survey of crime data provided by about 18,000 city, county, state, tribal, and federal law enforcement agencies. Supervisor Tara Lawson-Remer is allocating $400,000 to inquire if we need more taxes. This seems to be a huge waste of funds. At least some of these funds could be allotted to the San Diego Department of Animal Services. This department is short-staffed, not adequately trained in investigations, and is failing the animals it was supposed to serve. We have no intention of stop calling in until there's some resolution for these poor animals. Please help. Thank you.
Hi, Catherine Rhodes. And first I want to say that your agenda documentation is not working. When you go to your documents and you click on it, none of the documents come up like they usually do, none of them. But what's good is I mentioned it to the clerk here and they gave me an alternative place to find it. But I just wanted to tell you, I think, I don't know what you're going to do about it because I couldn't prepare. I just prepared right now for two things I looked at. So the first one that I want to mention was item 5, communications received number 58, Corey Briggs lawsuit for the lease of American Airlines. I'm not sure what that is about, but I wanted to tell you that San Diego is one of 12 grandfathered airports that can have revenue diversion. Billions of billions, tens of billions of dollars can be used for transportation in San Diego, according to the FAA's 2021 change on revenue sharing for transit to the airport, and I wanted to talk to staff. And I also wanted to mention that it's against my constitutional rights to be discriminated against. When people come here and clap for announcements, I should be able to clap also. So what I would like you to do, or somebody to do, especially my Supervisor, Chair Lawson-Remer, is to send this to your legal counsel so they could give you a clue. Send it to your court clerk so they could give you a clue that you can't discriminate against us. It's unfair. The other thing I wanted to mention was the item 5, communications received 3, Indian non-gaming reservation. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but it's in Valley Center. So I would say people maybe look at this. And at least they didn't have the periodic financial reports. I could always tell you how much cash you have and how rich you are. Thank you.
Mark, on item 2, these are some titles. This is a title of an article. These others are YouTube videos that you can see that relate directly to this topic. The Minds of Men is about a psychiatrist who was torturing children. The Psychiatric Association did not stop him. There are some times with different points you might want to check out. So, this is an amendment to the bylaws. It will seek and advocate for funding for ELC mixed delivery services instead of child care and child development. ELC stands for Early Learning and Care. The San Diego County Child Care and Development Planning Council is funded by the California Department of Social Services, and they use the ages and stages questionnaires. The VHCC-YP program provides access to board-certified child and adolescent psychiatrists who complete timely psychiatric evaluations and provide follow-up care, including prescriptions for medications that support social and emotional health. The center facilitates access to psychotropic medication for youth, including the administration of long-acting injectable psychotropic medication when necessary. When a minor consents to or could have consented to care under state or other law, a provider cannot disclose information to the minor's parents or guardians without a release from the minor patient. In China, children belong to the state. If you allow California to control your children, they can do anything, and they know this. See article entitled State of Evidence for the Use of Psychotropic Medications. I held that up. Quote, psychotropic medications are commonly prescribed to school-age youth for the management of mental health concerns, end quote. According to research, 50% of mental health patients do not show a positive response to psychotropic medications. I'm out of time. This is totally wrong to medicate our children. That to make money for the psychiatric.
Thank you.
My person uses the name Audrey. You want to know what they do with those psychotropic drugs? They give them to children who are being molested or raped, right? Which is it's cool as long as they shut up and just hang out wherever they're been put instead of being put into a safe situation. It is very disappointing and unnerving to know how much pedophilia the county of San Diego is involved in by hiring these individuals to go and care for the kids, right? As long as you're really loving the kids. It's like promise to kids is like, we're going to promise that we are going to abuse you when we take you out of an abusive situation. We want to make sure that you know that we love you, and that's how we're showing our love for you. And until the county of San Diego is going to address what's actually happening to the children in this county that are taken from their families, that have come across the border undocumented, you should not be having anything to do with children, nor should any, because how do we know that you're not hiring more pedophiles for this planning group, right? I mean, if we don't stop that from happening and the people are paying for these children to be abused and being given drugs, that's a problem. It's this huge problem that nobody ever wants to address it. We just kind of mow it over like whatever, and then you talk about kids like you really want to help them, but you don't ever address the abuse that takes place. And it's sad because it shouldn't have to be your child for it to matter. But it seems like that's what takes place. And then I don't even know, if you don't care about any kids, would you really care if your kid was? I mean, because a lot of people sell their kids into prostitution and different things, right? Give them up so they can cross the border here and to be trafficked. It's sad because America is the biggest consumer of child porn. And this is why the problem perpetuates.
Pam, number 2, no. Government and child care should not be in the same sentence or paragraph at all. Parents, do not allow this government body to apply their authority into your family and especially pretend that they're going to care for your children. Public government schools are bad enough if you can avoid those. Parents, don't surrender care for your child to any government program. Exactly what Audra said. It's ridiculous. And 3, no. Funny how the government is always CEQA exempt. You guys are probably causing more pollution affecting climate change than the rest of us public driving our gas-guzzling SUVs. And finally, I missed the meeting 2 weeks ago. Men are never and will never be women.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Royston. I would like to echo Mr. Mark and Ms. Audrey's comments on how everyone likes to turn their face on the human trafficking that is happening here in San Diego County. As long as your guys' pockets are filled, it's okay. What you truly are seeking, you will never get by the death of these children. It is your responsibility to make change, and that means going into your governmental offices, rooting out what President Trump is doing, rooting out those corrupt and evil individuals who are prospering on the death of our children. This is unacceptable. The fact that you can't call the cops and feel safe anymore in this city. I grew up in San Diego County. This was a beautiful, blooming city. It is scarce. Why? Because you guys failed to protect the children. You failed to protect the communities. You do nothing but sit here and ignore us. I want to see action. My children are in jeopardy, and it shouldn't matter that you make more money than me. This country was based on freedom. And shame on every single one of you that do absolutely nothing. Turn your face to the human trafficking, to the death of the children that are happening here. I don't know how you can sleep at night. I truly do not. God will prevail, and understand this. Most of you wear crosses around your neck. God will not forgive the evil deeds against children. And there is a God, and He is great. And He's sitting back waiting to see each and every one of you, what you're going to do. And most of you only care about your own pockets. But you will still be the same turds you were.
Your time is up. Next speaker, please.
Hey, Gambler here. As I explained to you guys earlier, you guys have been blocking my ability to look and to expose election fraud. Only because you want to go ahead and push your crazy-ass agendas, and then you pile a bunch of stuff up into one vote. Like, for example, Jim, you want to go ahead and say that you were opposed to giving legal aid.
Please pause the speaker.
To
Thank you. I just want to remind the speaker to please speak to any item on the consent agenda.
Okay, so I could talk about pot then, because pot was on there? I could talk about marijuana, because marijuana was on there. Or are you just targeting me because you're a fucking, you know what you are? Which one is it? Curiosity. I want to fucking know, because you are clearly targeting me.
Please pause
So
the
please.
speaker's time. Please pause the speaker's time.
Treat everyone same, or treat,
Sir, this is
or
your
don't fucking say a word.
Stop speaking. Thank you.
No, you fucking stop interrupting
Your
me.
second warning. Your time is forfeited. Thank you.
Okay, and therefore I...
Go ahead. You can cut him off. Thanks.
Tara, you are so wrong. Gonzalo here. It's always so sad to witness how this local government acts as if they care about the mental health of our children. They assist in facilitating with their delusions, like in being the opposite sex. How is that healthy? Kids are being overly drugged with things like Ritalin. Again, their solutions are a facade. Another thing to point out, places like Polinsky are hubs for predators. If government truly cared for our children's mental health, they wouldn't perpetuate a system that keeps the masses crazy and mad. Again, their solutions are a facade, a Band-Aid to the problem, never getting to the root cause of any problem. Why? Because government is the root cause of all of our problems, not marijuana, but government and big pharma. Prove me wrong and shut down Polinsky already. Disgusting. I'm done.
When we voted for this in October, we voted this item, it included an increase for CAL FIRE, for paramedic fire engine in Palma Valley and East Otay Mesa. So that's not included in today's item, so I want to ensure that that is still in the works, that it's happening, it's not being pulled out for any reason.
Supervisor Desmond, thank you for the question. Yes, recommendation number 3 from the October action. That action at that time was sufficient for a one-time action. So that is still part of the plan as approved by your board in October. The remaining actions today needed subsequent actions by other agencies, so I will turn the rest of that answer over to Andrew.
Just a little, so is this going to be, so are the CAL FIRE, the paramedic fire engine going to be in the upcoming budget?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to get that. Thank you.
Mark, so I basically agree with transferring some money. I don't agree with the way it's completely with the way it's being used, because you guys are not addressing that the people who have the main opportunity and motive for causing the fires is the UN and their UN agenda, where they openly say that they want people out of the rural areas. And these are the people with the most money in the world, so if they want somebody out to promote their agenda, so that they also want to disarm the United States and all the countries, and they want people out of their cars. When you limit movement and people are not armed, they don't have free, and the economy is collapsing. No one in government is addressing the Federal Reserve that's causing inflation. So obviously this causes a collapse, which is what they want. We're the beacon of freedom that would have saved the world. People need to see Rosa Koire's video, part 1. People need to see, that talks about the UN agenda. It's the best overall. This is not a made up thing. Here, Alabama is against Agenda 21, or against UN agendas in government. So is Tennessee. These are real things by our government, different states. This is about UN stealing land with this UNDRIP thing. This is Sandag doing it right here. Nora was the chair of Sandag. And at 1 hour and 22 minutes and 50 seconds, you can see them limiting our movement. This is a meeting right here in San Diego, doing UN agendas. Mayor Bill Wells said this, and you can see that interview. This is our debt, unbelievable. Go to usdebtclock.org. Zeitgeist, see this from 6 minutes, 40 seconds to 24 minutes. That'll open your eyes. The whole monetary system's corrupt.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Deer Springs and Valley Center Fire Protection District are the last two districts in the county to be brought up to what is now the low bar for tax apportionment throughout the county. We have been operating since 1981, 1982. Our district, Deer Springs Fire Protection District, and the Elfin Forest Fire Protection District, Harmony Grove Fire Protection District, came into existence post Prop 13. And the County Board of Supervisors and those districts negotiated for a 2% of the 1%, not realizing over 40 years later what we would be. No longer a cow town, no longer an agricultural town with a few people living, a few farmers living in a community. Valley Center, Deer Springs, and Elfin Forest now are thriving communities with thousands of people, with infrastructure that deserves and demands a high level of fire protection, paramedic services, and rescue. The Valley Center Fire Protection District ran over 2,200 calls last year. 425 of those calls were providing mutual aid to the region, which means we go out, we train, we play, we practice, we break bread with our fellow firefighters throughout the county. We also sent units up to the Palisades Fire. And so we share in the global fire protection of the county. We share in the mission of the county to provide the very, very best public safety and services in partnership with our tribal agencies, in partnership with CAL FIRE, County Fire, and all the municipal agencies in San Diego County. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. Oliver Twist here. I am in strong support of this. These communities have been under-resourced and underfunded for too long. I'm actually shocked it's taken this long to get this. And I also would suggest at this time that you consider moving this to 8 to 10% to get them up where they need to be. I was up at Valley Center not long ago, and I was really surprised how much development is going on up there and the new housing, and with that needs for services, especially since so much of that area is in a very high fire severity zone. At this time, I would be remiss also if I did not bring up opportunity cost. These Deer Springs and Valley Center have gone unfunded and underserved for too long because you've been diverting money to other things like illegal immigration, the defense, and also the immigration centers. That is money that was taken from the mouths of these communities. That's unacceptable. And I'm asking you please to reconsider going forward opportunity cost. Lastly, also, Chair Reamer, Tara, I would ask that you pay attention to speakers. I don't expect your eye contact for the whole 2 minutes, but you didn't even look up when Mark was speaking. And whether they come here regularly, it's almost, what do we have to do? Do I have to get on a bus bench to get you to look at me? Do I have to get yellow and purple shirts, paid and pandered to be on my side for you to pay attention to what I have to say? I am asking for equity in the meeting and also with the clapping to bring that back. You cannot sit there and say clapping is not disruptive for things of your choosing, but it is when we the people speak. Thank you.
My person uses the name Audra. If she took off her shirt, Tara, would you then pay attention? Probably. Anywho, so it's interesting what's going on with fires. We should actually be making sure that we're fully funding the fire department, but you know that doesn't seem to be happening on a massive scale. They're actually taking away funding many times, and even, you know, Randy Moore in Washington will tell the firefighters to stand down and not actually go to a fire while it's burning, which is interesting. And then they'll just like get totally out of control and people die, and it's like, who cares, right? I mean, because that is the UN agenda, to get people out of the unincorporated areas. And, you know, it would be nice if we actually acknowledge that kind of stuff, and like the fact that, I tell you all the time, but the chemtrails and the nanothermite that is sprayed all over the place, making it so that fires just go out of control. But also, it's like, you know, if they want something to burn, it'll burn. And that's why they use directed energy weapons as well, which is interesting, because these fire zones shouldn't look like a war zone with like cars flipped over and stuff and just the heat that's burning. I mean, trees from the inside out, right? That's totally normal. And, you know, it is sad because it's like, you guys always think these things are conspiracy theories, and you know, you act like you want to protect the people, but then you don't really address the real threats that are coming down the pipe. And it's interesting to see that all the places that are burning or will have, like, you know, some kind of natural disaster through weather warfare is going to be a smart city. So it'll be interesting to see when San Diego burns or has another flood, right, that's natural and not weather warfare, to put in your little smart city. So thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the individual.
And I just want to emphasize the regional. You know, a fire starts anywhere in the county. It doesn't know any boundary lines. You know, it's where the wind's blowing, and we really have to make sure all fire protection districts have the resources they need to prevent any fires. But Valley Center specifically, they've experienced exponential growth in the recent years, and much of that growth has been county approved and supported. But even with that growth, they were still only getting 2% of the property taxes. And I think we have a responsibility to support that growth, particularly with fire, with resources, or these resources, the increased tax increment. By increasing both Valley Center and Deer Springs up to 6%, which Chief Napier mentioned, this is the percentage that the county actually gives itself. This is the number that we actually get. And so it still only brings them up to the lowest bar, to the lowest number, where the county average for most of the other fire districts is at 12%. So at least this brings these two districts up to par with the county. They were down at 2%. So I want to thank you, everybody, for showing up, and thank my colleagues for supporting this in October. With that, I'd like to make a motion to support this item to increase the property tax allocation for Valley Center and Deer Springs fire protection districts.
Okay, I'm going to say a couple words. I was not a fan of this when it came to us initially. I think my concerns have only deepened over the last many months as we've looked at a budget deficit looming. You know, I'm concerned that we transfer significant funds out of our county's tax base without really any quality control or ability to ensure that residents are getting the services that they deserve and need. So I can understand that this was moved forward, but I still think, I thought before and I still think now, it really doesn't make a lot of sense for making sure that we have strong fire protection across San Diego County. So I am not going to be supporting that today.
Thank you. Supervisor Anderson?
Aye.
Supervisor Montgomery Stepp?
Yes.
Supervisor Desmond?
Yes.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer?
No.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes with Vice Chair Lawson-Remer voting no, all other supervisors being present and voting aye.
Mark, since the people are about to vote or have the opportunity to vote, most of them don't know they can, on the upcoming trash collection fee that never existed before in my lifetime. That was always just included in taxes. And the idea that your trash wouldn't be picked up was never even thought of. So this is the company that's doing it, that does our trash collection. It says the proceeds of revenue obligations will be loaned to the bar to, one, finance, refinance, and reimburse the cost of the acquisition, construction, installation, improvement, and equipping of solid waste disposal facilities, including but not limited to improvements to existing buildings, conversions of existing diesel fleet to renewable natural gas, and then it goes on blah, 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 and gets down to acquisition of collection trucks. Now, since the amount is about to double, I don't think you guys should be voting on this right now at all. I don't want to give any money to this company. People don't know, and this is very important. People get notices in the mail. Everybody in San Diego City just got one for the water rate increase. And everybody just sees it, and it says it's being increased, and they go, damn, and they throw it away, like thinking there's nothing they can do. Most people, and people I know, have done this and didn't see, read further down on the page, that there's a protest. It's like 3 lines long. You print your name, you print your address, and you sign it. If you send it to the address it says, which is a clerk of the court address, the water rate will not increase. It is the same for the proposed trash collection fee. That will be $636 per person in San Diego on their property tax. If when you get that notice, you fill that little cutout and send in that protest at the bottom, they cannot raise it. This is a scam. You shouldn't vote on this until this is done.
My person uses the name Audra. Mark is so right. I feel like this is double dipping. It's like, we're going to give them this money, and then they're going to charge the people more. It's kind of like SDG, and we're going to come above, our budget so that, we can get money that'll be below the budget, and then we get to just pocket the rest. And it's like, recycling is a scam. It is very disturbing to manipulate people into believing that they're going to save the planet if they just pay a little extra money and recycle items that are just going to go into the trash anyway. I mean, it's ridiculous how many scams take place, not only in this county, but the nation and the world, because, people love to manipulate people and get them to do whatever they want them to do. And so if they're going to be double dipping, I think that you shouldn't vote on this, like Mark was saying, and wait until that measure passes or doesn't, so we know how much money are we really going to need to give them. And it's ridiculous to think that we're going to be giving them, because this is going to pass, because you guys don't bring stuff forward unless it passes, $73+ million, and then how much are they going to get from the people? And then it's like, oh my gosh, if you don't pay that new fee, we're going to take your home. How cool is that, right? And then it just goes to the county, and then you guys will, take the money from it, who knows what, put it in somebody's pockets. It would be interesting if you guys actually did stuff that was beneficial to the people, right? Like benefit, like homelessness, right? Like, wouldn't it be cool if we actually helped the homeless? How cool would that be? And that it didn't just go into the pockets of other people. But, why would we do that? The idea is not for the government to be on your side. The government is set out to destroy everything. And that's why I just like to tell you guys, you're doing a fantastic job doing that. You're doing very good, Monica. It's good. Yeah. Proud of you guys.
Hello, this is Catherine Rhodes, and I came here today because, of course, I couldn't figure out what this item 8 was, because what I don't like, and this is something for the clerk, is that you don't say what the, I would like them to say that it's at notice of public hearing, issuance of revenue bond for the Providence Resource Group Incorporated. But then when you look at it, it's at 6650 Montezuma Road. And it seems like people at the college area would have actually came here if you put it on the agenda. Just put the property on the agenda so we know where it is. And also, it's also called like Oasis something. And so, my thing is, of course, I'm into for affordable housing, but then some of this, I guess, is going to be short-term rentals. And it's supposed to be affordable housing. So is this going to be like hostel housing or something like that where it's going to be cheap? So people who need an emergency can actually rent it for low income. And so I just want to make sure that this is actually low income. You're giving them an opportunity to have, private people, an opportunity to have $120 million in bonds. $120 million in bonds. That seems insane. Of course, since I am not prepared, I can't say exactly what the cost per unit is, but it would be nice if we knew what the cost per unit is. So just my thing is that for the clerk, please just put it there, because I thought this would, when I saw this in the units, I was like, oh my goodness, this is that PB 23-story thing over on Turquoise Street. So that's what I was thinking of, and I couldn't figure it out. until this morning. So that's my thing. Please make it clear on here where the location is. That would be lovely. Thank you.
Mark, so the problem with this is the problem with every other low-income housing project. Basically, there are contractors, there are middlemen, there were consultants when the whole thing was being considered with the city or the county, and a lot of people in the middle making money. It's very profitable, and there aren't very many low-income houses that are required for a building. This is the lowering of our standard of living. For one thing, the middle class, if you see the video, Wealth Inequality in America, it'll show you graphs of how we're just not making enough money for people to afford to live here. And not everyone, but of course, it's eroding the middle class and the poor completely. And so low-income housing, it takes 2/3 of the rent. Like the low-income housing person pays about 1/3 of the rent usually. The other 2/3 are subsidized by us taxpayers. That's unsustainable. And of course, since the wealth distribution in the country is completely off, and you can see a graph of it in that video on YouTube, Wealth Inequality in America. So since that's completely off, the middle class is going to keep disappearing, and more people are going to become homeless, especially if you do this trash collection fee. A lot of people on fixed incomes that could pay their property tax won't be able to. But so anyway, the end result is that more and more people become homeless, and the middle class becomes less capable of supporting it and subsidizing the 2/3 of the rent. And that doesn't even need to be. I've told you at least 20 times that you could 3D print rooms, about $2,000 each, and you don't have to subsidize the other 2/3. Well, there is no rent for them. You let the poor people use it. Don't charge any any taxes to the.
Thank you.
My person uses the name Audra, so that's $659,340 per unit. How cheap is that? I mean, that's like a good deal here in San Diego, right? How many square feet is that? Seems like, how cool for them to get $120 million. Interesting how much money we pretend to not have for other things that we need, but then we're willing to give $120 million to a company that's going to pretend to provide affordable housing. Again, quit using that word, because it is not affordable. I mean, why do we think that everybody is leaving San Diego? Because the prices just keep going up, right? Intentionally so, because we can't have people, living on their own and supporting themselves. They have to be reliant on the government, or our plan will not work, right? Oh, man, those 15-minute cities are going to be expensive, especially when we have to pay our little fee just to leave it. Will we even be able to? Who knows, right? But it'll be cool as long as we get our sewer water and, chemtrailed all up and poisoned, and then, just put humans in the food. It's good. As long as we're just, engaging in all of these satanic rituals. It's pretty cool, right? And injecting in ourselves with children is, baby fetuses, and then also just putting that in the food. It's cool. It's like, this is what the world's all about, is making sure that, nothing ever really moves forward. It just always is constantly, you're on like a treadmill going to nowhere. Maybe we should just get hamster wheels. Maybe that would be good to spend the money on. I feel like we could just really keep people occupied in there, and they could feel like they're moving forward at some point, but they really aren't, right? It's great deception. So good on you guys for spending more of our money that's going to go to shit.
Consuelo here. So what I wanted to say was not many realize it's all by design. And thank you, Mark, for not giving up and continuing to provide information to the people, even the people who don't truly aren't, I don't want to say deserving of it, but aren't appreciative of it. And especially the people who chime in to these meetings just to be entertained. I truly hope they're listening and not just watching, because it's really time to be active in exposing the fraud of government and of this system. And yeah, these items are just a joke. We know that they're never going to have enough homes or solve homelessness because it's all to facilitate the bigger agenda. And it's lucrative, too. So these people are getting money, and pockets are being filled, and it's just, you know, like I said to one person at the point in time count, you know, I hate to break it to you, but homelessness is lucrative in our county, and they're just getting money. It's like a cash cow, money, 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 and they give you guys Pop-Tarts, and they give you guys moldy tents to live in, and they don't give a shit about the homes. They don't give a shit about the people. They just continue to do nothing on our dime. What else do I have to say that I've already said 1,000 times before? Yeah, everything is, and we pay for it all. You know, we allow it. We continue to allow this, and until the more people wake up, or at least the people who are awake speak up. And, you know, it's time, because there's so many who are awake, and they're just fearful of people like Tara silencing them. Don't be afraid, man. Speak up. It's time. We are.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. That concludes public comment on this item.
Mark, so Consuela's right. Government is not here to help us. Here's your book on this item, and it states 11. Under current state law, eligible private-initiated battery energy storage systems, BESS, projects may be approved through the California Energy Commission's opt-in certification program. Going through this state process in lieu of obtaining any local permits that may be required. Although not commonly used, it may become more lucrative, making money, as local jurisdictions begin implementing stricter rules for BESS projects. So this is lucrative, and the state has a way to bypass all of the usual problems and regulations. The state really sucks. They don't care about our health. They don't care that these start fires that can't be put out. I'm sure, as Consuela said, there will be ones going off in the rural areas as well as other places because they don't care about the people at all. And as an example proving that, this board actually received a letter. This is the letter from Beatrice Golan on 5G and how dangerous it is. And she didn't used to be a head of research at UCSD. She presently is, as far as I know. She has been for a long time, certainly since long after this was put out. And absolutely the world's leading expert said that 5G is dangerous. Likewise, these systems are dangerous. They have toxic gas that can go into the residential areas. The fires can't be put out. They can start a fire all over the place. It's just not a good idea, and the state doesn't care about us. And then now they've streamlined it, so if you use the state method, you don't have to go through.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
The Fire Protection District is not in favor of placing BESS energy plants on agricultural land, specifically those that share groundwater with the flowers that you put in your living room, the strawberries that you feed your children, any of the food that a better battery energy storage fire would release into the groundwater. It is appropriate for photovoltaic systems to share farmland. It's appropriate for those types of energies to share farmland. It's not appropriate for battery energy companies to come in and entice farmers to give up farmland in lieu of battery energy storage for the funds to entice them against the cost of water. And so what we're asking is that we take a safe approach, that the board of directors really looks at making sure that these plants end up in industrial areas and in commercial areas that do not have high groundwater, that don't share groundwater with food sources or sources of agricultural entities that would end up in your home. It would be no different than placing a battery energy storage plant in the poinsettia fields or in the Carlsbad flower fields. Let's not do that. Thank you.
Oliver Twist, strongly in favor of this item. We do need much more regulation on BESS. We've seen many things where they're out of control. There have been so far over 90 lithium-ion battery fires at BESS facilities. And in fact, this is made even more timely due to the fact that the Moss Landing that had once been put out now reignited. They already have documentation of the polluted watershed in that area. The shortcomings of purported green energy become even more apparent each day. From heavy metals to toxic smoke, it's our local communities that are left to pay the price. So please, I'm asking you to really strongly, even putting in more regulations on these. That would also include a per capita or per square mile limit. Because Valley Center has one. I believe that one already caught on fire, and now they want to have a second one. I'm in Alpine. We have 2 proposed within 4 miles of each other, and I'm asking for, again, some regional equity to spread these projects out and to make sure that not one entity is actually just overly burdened with this. They are not, I believe that they actually are just a money-making thing to perpetuate, and when you weigh the whole factors of procurement, production, disposal, that they actually will be proved, just like the windmill in Mojave, or the wind farm, or whatever that was, solar farm in Mojave, that they've actually had to shut that down because it did not pencil out to the promises that were made. So please rethink BESS, because the rural communities are one paying the price. Thank you.
Person uses the name Audra. I love how you guys. Oh, man, it is just so disturbing that we're even talking about this, that we're like trying to make a way for this toxic, totally dangerous infrastructure to be placed around. It's like we can't even put these fires out, and you're concerned about fires, but then you're willing to put out this type of infrastructure that causes it. And if anybody dies because of your choices, you should absolutely go to jail for not protecting the people and worshiping your climate god over the safety of human beings, even the land. It's like, it's toxic to the land, but like, let's find a space where we can put it that it's still going to be toxic, but that's okay, right? Because we're saving the planet by destroying it. And we're, bringing in an energy source that is literally, I mean, I guess if it's just like a fire source, right, then it can be like we're just, keeping everybody warm, right? It'll be reminiscent of hell. It'll be cool, right? Because this is like hell. It's, all the things that you guys do. Because really, maybe you should put them in your home and then sleep right next to it, right? And then maybe it'll combust, because that seems to be what happens. But that's not a problem, right? Why would you guys care? Will you care when somebody's life is lost due to this? Will it matter then? And then maybe you'll be like, we're really going to do what we need to make sure this doesn't happen again. Like, you guys are literally putting people in danger with this kind of stuff. And it's all literally because you worship the United Nations whole plan. And you're selling the people out all the time.
Good afternoon, board. My name is Corey Schumacher. I'm here representing IBEW 569. We represent 3,700 union electricians and power professionals. Wanted to express our opposition to this board letter today. We have supported the good work of the board in developing best practices for battery energy storage systems. However, AB 303 does not further this goal. We wanted to note that if AB 303 passes as it was written, it would be a de facto battery energy moratorium. I also wanted to take this opportunity to again note that if we are looking at preventing the root causes of battery energy storage failures, we can directly look at what the majority of those root causes are, which is the assembly, integration, and construction of battery energy storage facilities. Over 36% of those failures that have been studied. which means that the people who are working on those battery energy storage facilities need to be trained, skilled and trained workforce, and therefore we will continue to advocate for C10 licensed contractors and certified electricians being the ones to perform all electrical work on battery energy storage systems, and also advocate energy storage and microgrid training and certification, which we do right here in San Diego County, and also for a skilled and trained workforce for utility scale battery energy storage projects. We continue to be at your disposal to delve into these policies, which do more than just respond to failures when they happen, but do the work of preventing them. Thank you.
It's true. Jim, it's only been 8 months since you inquired about battery energy storage site safety, and no word about it. But of course, that's because others wanted to get plenty of time to get them all approved. The state approves and expedites these fire facilities while also approving electricity rates being jacked up. Yes, the only one who benefits are the best companies, the political unions, and SDG&E. SDG&E has at least 20 other best facilities in construction, maybe 21, mostly in rural high fire severity zones, but some in more densely populated areas such as Claremont or El Cajon. But that doesn't include the best sites by other companies like AES, Gateway, Terrigen, and Nighthawk, to name a few. Our best facilities, the reason Joel is sheltering in place, I understand. Every single best facility has caught fire several times. Am I wrong? Some facilities have containers and brick walls in order to contain fires. They all have fire detectors and smoke alarms. Why? Because they're dangerous fire-prone facilities. Yet there's not even evacuation routes to address an issue in the backcountry. Poway did nothing for their people. Some of their council members even lied about the risk. Well, Mayor Buckey said, we'll get sued, it's going to happen anyway. Well, I spoke to a different city's council member who first thought that these fire facilities were safe. They actually questioned what they were told and found out from technical experts about the serious risk. Because it's not an if, it's a when situation for best fires. Add that to the wild arsonists, and people are struggling to get fire insurance on their homes. What do you know? This attack upon the backcountry with best fire facilities is no different than the attack upon the South Bay with sewage pollution from Mexico. It results in toxic air. It's preventable, inequitable, and wrong. So yes to a moratorium on fire facilities, and yes to fire prevention and the saving of human life. Money is not worth more than human life. Sorry, Ed.
These battery energy storage facilities are vulnerable to long days, many days, long hot fires. The one in Otay burned for like 14 to 17 days. At Escondido, they had to do evacuations around that fire. Valley Center had a fire as well. So there's 3 fires that I know of. But they're vulnerable to these long, hot fires, and care should be taken when placing these facilities near homes and other sensitive receptors. AB 303 would close the current state loophole that allows private best facilities, not SDG&E or other providers, but allows private best facilities to bypass the local permitting and go to the California Energy Commission for approval. Now, very few private entities are doing that right now. But as more communities, San Diego County included, come up with land use ordinances managing the placement of these devices, more will go directly to the state, bypassing local control. AB 303 would stop that. It would also prohibit statewide battery energy storage projects of 200 megawatts or more, so a larger one, from being located within 32 feet of a sensitive receptor. Not for all facilities, but over 200 megawatt. Sensitive receptors being homes, schools, hospitals, parks. Again, I'm not against these projects. I agree, we need them for grid stability. But unfortunately, the state is just placing them wherever they want without any local control, particularly for SDG&E and the other energy service providers throughout the state. Only the private ones that come through the county do we have any control over, and it's going to be probably another year before we get that ordinance in place here in San Diego County. But when they catch fire, they're causing evacuations and smoke and posing hazards, and I think it's clear we need to keep the focused on public safety. So additionally, AB 303 aligns with the action that this board has already taken. where we voted on a board letter that I brought forward in July of last year directing staff to develop local standards for these battery energy storage projects, which right now they could just go straight to the state and say, forget you, county, we don't care what you have to say, the state's going to approve us anyway. That's what we're trying to prevent. But AB 303 would avoid locating them in residential neighborhoods, avoid locating them near schools, daycare centers, hospitals, and develop safety standards for fire, thermal runaway, energy response, and toxic gassing. So AB 303 would allow more local control. We don't want to stop these. I don't want, I backed off on the moratorium. I think these are important energy storage systems as part of the big energy system and preventing brownouts and things like that. But I do think we need to have buffers between existing homes and hospitals, particularly if, the runoff, if there's a fire, the water is going to go into local agriculture or plants and things like that. We got to take those things into consideration. AB 303 is a good stopgap for really a small amount that are just of private providers that can go directly to the state. We want to keep that local control here. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the county's support of Assembly Bill 303. Thank you.
That motion fails with Supervisor Desmond voting yes, all other supervisors being present and voting no.
Mark, sorry 11 didn't pass, Jim. These guys are not sane. So I think Jim has a really good idea, like a good intent on this. The only problem is clearing the encampments if the people don't have a place to live is not a good idea. It just won't work. I mean, it's going to really damage the homeless if we don't have a place for them to stay. I've already said, and by the way, I'm really upset that Todd Gloria just spent $27.5 million on the Pride Promenade. For $1 million less, he could have done 3D printed 10,600. I looked it up. That's all the homeless in San Diego. A 10 by 10 room for every single one of them. And we still could. And for another approximately $10 million, you could literally have a really fast adult scooter that would go like close to 50 miles an hour with a 50-mile range, and they could get jobs, reintegrate back into society. If you do these things, which could be along the border or on Fiesta Island, you could clear the homeless encampments, and, well, there wouldn't be any homeless. Temporarily. Of course, if you don't stop the Federal Reserve from intentionally causing inflation and the wealth distribution from being so completely imbalanced, it'll resurface and keep rising. But that would temporarily solve it. So I think Jim has a good idea. I certainly understand why he's doing it, because some homeless are starting the fires. You're not recognizing, people need to see these videos. Rosa Corey. And this one, these are on YouTube titles. The UN causes some of these fires, quite a bit of them in the rural areas. So, nice try, Jeff.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Some Raymer and Board of Supervisors. Joe Napier, Fire Chief, Valley Center Fire Protection District, and we are in favor of this initiative. A difficult initiative to attain, but I think with the cooperation, especially in Valley Center, with the Sheriff's Department code compliance and the fire department, we can patrol, go out. We're already out during red flag warning and patrolling specific areas to make sure people aren't using gas-operated equipment. They're not shooting. They're not riding motorcycles or ATVs that don't have spark arresters. We shut burning down. So this would be another initiative to go out and into the public and patrol and go in to these encampments and give education. When it's non-red flag, making sure that they understand that there are evacuation mechanisms. There's Genesis Protect apps that they can access. Valley Center Fire Protection District has already initiated some of these things in multi-language, and we believe that it's a holistic community approach to problems like this that can be attained through cooperative measures. Thank you.
Hello, Catherine Rhodes, and I just wanted to mention that it says that it's going to cost nothing. So you're saying that you could do this and it's going to cost nothing because you're not going to help any homeless people. And this is specifically for Jim Desmond and Monica Montgomery Stepp. I've been working with the Lucky Duck Foundation for them to confirm all the things I talk about during the periodic financial report, and I'm also working with Monica Ball of Uplift and Yigby, Yes in God's Backyard. There's so much money, $16.5 million in cash sitting in your pool investment fund. And now it's probably going down because we have President Trump that's going to ruin our economy, and all this money that you're putting in, instead of spending it on the poor that you're supposed to, you're putting it in to the stock market and betting on it. And so far you've gotten lucky, but I'm not sure how much luckier you're going to be. And specifically for Jim Desmond, this is not my work, this is the people work. By looking at your annual comprehensive financial report, in the last 2 years, you made $815 million of annual excess of revenue greater than expenses. And, you know, Jim Desmond, you're talking about we have more people working at the county. We have more people working at the county because you're bringing in, instead of the private prisons, now we have regular people at the county working at the prisons, so we could hold them a little bit accountable instead of no accountability. You are rich. You're so rich. I have so many solutions for you. So many. Please call me so I could gift you this gift of helping everybody and reducing fire risk. I need a champion. If I could get one of you to believe me, that would be lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Oliver Twist. I am absolutely in favor of this item. And after the conflagration and devastation that we witnessed in LA and the Pacific Palisades, I really don't see who would not be for this. I live in a high-risk fire area myself. I've been evacuated during the Cedar fire. I had a friend several friends whose houses burned, but one told me he knew he wasn't running fast enough when his hair caught on fire. He escaped with his life, barely. So this is a very real incident, and I also want to share something that happened recently to me in Santee. I was talking to a local official there, and he explained about this little island they have, and the reason that the transients like to go live on the island is because it's hard to do any enforcement. Many of them are drug and mental confused, so I don't see that they have really their right to play Survivor Santee does not negate the people in Santee to have a safe house because fire will not just stay on that island. So please, as the fire chief said, that was a very good argument. They do other kind of enforcement, specifically during the red flag opportunities, and this is really no different. The people are free to return back to their little encampment, but I would also argue that allowing people to live in squalor is really not humanitarian, and that should be rethought too. Thank you.
Good morning, or is it afternoon now? I've lost track. Anyway, good to see you, supervisors. John Brady with Lived Experience Advisors, representing the homeless community. I really struggled with this, and so did our team. However, the bottom line is because every municipality in the region effectively, following the lead of San Diego, created a law that says you can't camp in our inner city areas, we pushed everybody into more dangerous regions. That's all we've done. I'm sure you've been highly impacted. The riverbed had effectively reached zero encampments, and then that ordinance went into place, and we have not been under the hundreds of people living in our San Diego riverbed since then. We are driving people into places that are not safe for human habitation. I do have an idea for you, though. There are 84,000 mobile homes and travel trailers in the county of San Diego. That's half of the number of housing that we're short. But we won't let anybody live in them, even if they're set up with sewage and electricity appropriately attached to all the necessary systems. Why not? This is an emergency. You guys should take the lead and establish an emergency permitting process for rolling 3 years until we get through this housing crisis. That's 80,000 potential units of housing. Even if it's 10% of that, we're much better off. On a final note, no matter what side you are on what's happening in Washington, we must plan for, at the very minimum, delayed payments from Washington if they cut HUD by 50%. At worst, significant cuts in HUD funding. That is the primary source of income for all of our homeless services and our housing initiatives. And we need to get ahead of that and start planning. What are we going to do when the checks start running late? And I will tell you, I was in a board meeting with the COC. We see organizations in 60 to 90 days that are going to run it.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Michael, there are many nexuses to this item, this agenda item. One is how homeless people are scapegoated. And two, you call them encampments when it's actually their homes. Three, you're the ones who actually aided and abetted this situation of creating more and more homelessness. All of this is political theater. I heard one freedom advocate back here say, I don't see how anyone could be against this item. Well, I can tell you how someone could be against this item. People are going to be snapped out of their cognitive dissonance soon because they're not looking at the bigger picture. Audra Morgan earlier mentioned the truth about geoengineering, arranging the atmosphere so that fires can be more facilitated easily. If you want to learn more about this, there's a simple site. You can go to YouTube, put in Peggy Hall, The Healthy American. There is a playlist, Jim, called California Fires. There's one video in particular with an arborist that talks about how the nature of these fires are not normal fires. In fact, they're not wildfires. And for you to get up here and say, and parrot, that's all you're doing as a politician, saying 50% of the fires are caused by the homeless, in essence, demonizing people, and then turning around and saying, do you want to protect people? This is no different than all of the gaslighting and all of the lies that was done the last 4 to 5 years, Monica, and you too at City of San Diego City Council about the counterfeit pandemic. Yes, it was counterfeit to get people to do this. All of this ties together. All of this is going to blow up in March and going forward through 2025. Wake up.
My person uses the name Audra. It is so sad, and amen to what Michael said, because you are punishing these people and you don't even give them a place to go. So what are you going to do with these people? Take all their stuff and make them leave, and then what are you going to say? Oh, now you can go back, but we're going to keep all your stuff. And it's a wonder. It's like the tent city, which I know you guys aren't in control of, but there's fire risk there just from the electrical outlets that are very dangerous to the people. But it's interesting because it's like you want to punish them, and again, it's like all we do is shuffle them around. We don't ever offer them up anything that is like, we're going to get you out of this situation. It's like, we're going to keep you in this situation. And it's sad because, you know, you didn't seem to have a problem when the illegal aliens that were coming across the border out in East County were starting fires every day, costing us a lot of money with fire trucks and ambulances that had to come from other communities to go to answer the calls there, sometimes 3 at a time, both ambulances and fire trucks, leaving that other community totally unprotected. And just an ambulance, or if those are hundreds of thousands of dollars that we're spending every month, and you didn't give a shit. But now you're going to go and target the homeless people because they're homeless, but you don't offer anything that they can get out of that situation. Instead, you guys always demonize certain people, and it's very sad to see that all we do literally is like shuffle them around. I'm sorry, there's an event here. We can't have you guys be seen. Let's get you out of the way. But then as soon as you need more money, you're like, oh my gosh, we got to count all those homeless so we can get some more money, right? And then what does it do? The problem gets worse every time. So you guys should be to blame for the fires that take place in these encampments.
Amen to everyone in opposition. No, no, no. This is yet another slippery slope by the county being proposed by a right-winged rhino. Fact, the city of New Orleans moved their homeless for the Super Bowl. Do you know that the cost to put them in tents in cold weather for a few weeks costed more than housing them all for an entire year? That is government. You can't just remove people from their places of refuge because you deem the day of having a possibility of there being a fire. Another example of giving government the authority to be able to relocate people willy-nilly. Once again, they will use this item, free pass, to justify their tyrannical behaviors, homeless or not, just as they did with the forced medicating the homeless item, all under the guise of safety. Wake up. Don't you see it? All bad. Bad, bad, bad. No bueno. I'm sorry, Jimmy boy. This item is just another way to usher in the New World Order. Wake up, my status slave, government-loving brothers and sisters, especially you who speak so eloquently and are mostly logical. Time to start using your discernment. The system is not working.
Can you please state your name for the audio record?
This is Consuelo.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Truth. With emergency sweeps, is there enough emergency shelters or housing to put these people in? Why only during red flag warnings? Fires for warmth happen during winter, and fires for cooking happen every day. I would also ask for emergency sweeps of the wild arsonists, or maybe even battery energy storage site companies, because they're definitely in the business of arson as well. And because of 54% of the fires in LA in 2023 allegedly were from homeless encampments, then that must mean the other 46% were started by the professional arsonists. Where are the county staff on that reality? And when will the county address the electric vehicle fires? There is no deadlier type of fire than a lithium fire. Yet we have a county fire chief who claimed that EV fire is not up. Not a single supervisor had enough sense to question that bogus claim. We did not have any lithium fires 5 to 10 years ago. So the arsonists and the lithium fires and the battery energy storage site fires need to be addressed with the same seriousness as the encampment fires. But a lot of people was coughing while I'm speaking. Can anyone else hear that, or just me? Okay, look. I heard a lot of great comments, and what I'm going to explain about some of them is that some people have a different hypothesis on life about whether or not someone who's on drugs should be accepted that they live that way. Now, I believe in freedom. I think you should live however you want, but there is a limit on when your drug addiction is affecting other people, and there is a line there. However, this item has nothing to do with that line. This is about sweeping people whenever you want to have a red flag warning, which we've had people's electricity shut down during red flag warnings, but it didn't need to be because it was a false warning. So that's a whole other issue as well. There's a lot wrong. It's actually kind of neutral.
Thank you.
What this whole board letter is focusing on is preventing fires. That's the whole thing. We want to prevent fires. We all saw what happened in LA. So preventing fires is the #1 reason for this board letter or this action today. And the reason it costs $0 is all we're doing today, or I'm requesting, is a report back by staff within 90 days as to how we can implement reducing the number of fires coming from homeless encampments. And I realize there's a whole lot of other logistics that have to be worked out, and they're not yet. They're absolutely not. So there's a lot of good questions out there. But say we're trying to punish the homeless. No. I think we have our homeless problem because people can still refuse help. We've got plenty of help to offer. We need more housing, absolutely. But when people can just refuse help and stay on our streets and starting campfires, it's not a good sign on red fire warning days. So as we saw in Los Angeles last month, we got to do everything in our control to prevent fires. And I'm happy to share my sources, but about 50% of the fires in California have been started by homeless in their encampments. Not picking on them, it's just a fact. And this means that 50% of the fires are preventable. And we can do something about it. In January alone, in San Diego, we had 3 fires started by homeless encampments. These fires threatened lives, structures, caused evacuations of nearby schools, a nursing home, and a daycare, and we're lucky the Santa Ana winds weren't blowing. Because if they were, that'd have been a much bigger mess, much bigger threat. So luckily, thanks to the heroic efforts of our first responders, none of those fires became disastrous. So open flames used for cooking and warmth, and I don't want to deny people that, but combined with flammable debris around you and lack of fire prevention measures poses a serious fire hazard. And this risk is not only to the surrounding communities and the people who live near these encampments, but the entire county. So today's action merely directs staff to return to the board to report on options for emergency encampment removals during red flag warnings to prevent fires. And this does raise a question. Where do they go? Where do we put them? So how are you going to manage that? Because we have not fixed homelessness yet. But so I'm asking staff to address housing options, vouchers, potential parking lots, where we can potentially transport people and move them during high fire days. So that's already in the request. So whether or not they come up with an answer within 90 days is yet to be seen. But we all know there's a significant fire risk during red fire warning days. So do we just sit back and wait, or do we try to do things to prevent that? We know fires often start in the homeless encampments, so I think we have to take action. And I know it's not only in homeless encampments, but if we do know that is a place where they start, we should pay attention. So the motion, I'm going to make a motion to ask the staff to come back within 90 days with a report of if we were to clear these homeless encampments, what would the plan be to make sure we can move these people to someplace safe? And so, again, the primary focus is on preventing fires, and we should do everything within our power to do that. So I'll make a motion to approve the item for staff to come back in 90 days with a report. Thank you.
I'd like to second that motion. In March, we're going to have my no camping ban ordinance come back. I got a briefing on it, and much of this is all going to be covered in it. The one aspect, and Jim, thank you for bringing this forward. This is of grave concern to me because I live in a red flag area. Earlier, I couldn't call into a meeting when I was ill because we didn't have any power. Our power was shut off on Sunday, not restored till Wednesday. And while Apple's provided really great equipment, the battery didn't last for 3 days. So my focus on this has been about, I lived through the Cedar Fire. 2,000 homes were lost in my Senate district. People died. This isn't about whether you're compassionate about homeless or not. This is about whether somebody has a right to burn down your neighborhood and put your life at risk. And so I'd like, if you would mind, Jim, amending it to put the focus on private land. They're going to come back on public land with an analysis March 11th, I believe. But really putting the emphasis on private land and making sure that people don't have open flames, whether they're homeless or not, and that we're enforcing this stuff. The risk is way too high with the amount of fuel that's in the backcountry. So I ask that you take that in consideration to making an amendment with that. Thank you.
All right, if I can
Go ahead. If you have a clarification regarding the amendment.
I'm not sure. I don't want to restrict it to only private. I think this should be private and public. If you want to say, primarily look at private, but okay. But I think this is
Jim.
The fire doesn't
on March 11th,
private land.
Can we?
I put the board letter in already for public land. We're already covering it. So I don't want them redoing the work that they've already done.
Do want to mention that one of the things I really appreciated, I received an initial briefing on what's coming in March, and I think it's relevant to this conversation as well, about what efforts we make to get people into some kind of services or housing rather than just taking their stuff and kicking them out of where they're sleeping. And yes, we absolutely have to protect public safety, but we also have to acknowledge people's humanity. And if someone's sleeping in a riverbed or someone's sleeping in a canyon, it's because they need a place to sleep. And I would like to reiterate the comment of my colleague, Supervisor Montgomery Steppe, that I think from a moral standpoint, it is really critical that if we're going to be enforcing camping bans, which I think we have to do if there's a fire, that we have places for people to go. That we're not just saying, okay, well, you can't sleep here. Well, then I guess you can't sleep anywhere. Because what is someone going to do? You have to sleep. What are you just going to walk around for weeks? It just sort of, to me, frankly, as a human, that's it makes me embarrassed that we would have a society that it would be illegal to sleep anywhere. So I do want us to move this forward. I think it's an incredibly important initiative around fire safety, and I also want to make sure that we're being humane and that we're ensuring that people do have a place to go if we're going to kick them out of wherever they're sleeping. I do know that that's already the practice of how our county currently operates when we're moving encampments. I was very impressed with our county team's briefing on how much work we do in trying to connect people with resources. I think that that's something we're already doing a very good job on, but I want to make sure that that's not lost, that we continue to support that work and we continue to center that work, that we don't let that work get lost as an ordinance comes back. So those are the comments I wanted to share. I'm certainly happy to support this today.
I just want to remind you all, my colleagues, that this isn't about a homeless issue. We're not saying that we don't want you, that we're running you off because you're sleeping there. This is a fire issue. You can't start fires and put other people at risk. This is not about homelessness, it's about public safety. If the fire takes a life, they will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law for murder, just like any arsonist would. And these conditions, if it's like the Cedar fire, if it's like the Witch Creek fire, they will not be able to outrun the fire, and they're putting their own life at risk. So this isn't about homelessness. This is about a Boy Scout can't start a fire under these conditions. Two hunters who got lost, who created a fire to be found, created the Cedar fire. None of these behaviors are acceptable. We lost over 2,000 homes and people died in the Cedar fire in my old Senate district. That's not right. So don't get confused over homelessness, mistreating people. That's a whole different issue. This is about not creating 2,000 new homeless people because you burnt their house down. That's what this is about. Thank you.
The motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present, 10 voting.
We're all very excited to support your item, Tim.
Michael, 2611 El Cajon Boulevard. There are two restaurants there, two vegan restaurants, Donna Jean and Evolution Fast Food. They were previously located in Hillcrest and Bankers Hill. And the thing is, those restaurants would have gone out of business, gone down the toilet, lost, if it had not been for Alondra Ruiz, a dear friend of mine, who opened her space up to those two vegan restaurants. And I just want to make that announcement so it's more out there that it was because of her graciousness that two businesses were saved. Alondra is a hero, as many other people are, who spoke out against the immoral measures from the last 5 years. And that brings me to this book here. There's a PDF copy of this book online. It's open access, but I have a hard copy of it. It's published by Palgrave Macmillan, and it's called COVID-19 Psychological Operations and the war for technocracy. Now, if someone hasn't been following along with what's been happening geopolitically across the earth and all these transnational entities manipulating governments, this is a great starting point. It goes into a lot of the topics that some speakers here have addressed, including psychological warfare, Tara, fake science that was used for the COVID operation. The good news is it's so wonderful because things are changing, not because of Trump, but because people waking up. How good can it get?
My person uses the name Audra. The doublespeak happening here is so insane. The way you guys are like, we got to protect you from fires, but we're going to put in a bunch of fire infrastructure, things that combust just from the fumes. And you're like, but if you're homeless, oh my gosh, we're going to hold you accountable if you kill somebody or, you know, do something like you guys are, it's insanity. And it's interesting. Because what you could do with the homeless, now that the NGOs have been defunded, which is so fantastic, you got the Ramada Inn, or the Ramada Wyndham over by in Mission Valley, that is no longer needing to aid and abet illegal aliens. You could put homeless there, right? We're still renting it. The state's still paying for it, so it's cool. And then we also have 4902 Pacific Highway, which is run by the Jewish Family Services, that is being shut down, which is weird because today they were so busy. There were so many cars there, and there's no bodies to traffic. What are they doing? Are they shredding documents? Probably, because it's like if Doge is going to come after them, you can't let the people know what you did with the money from FEMA. So interesting, and I'm wondering, Jim and Joel, it was great to see you on Friday at the press conference for SB 554. Jim, where were you? You said you were working with Brian Jones, and then you didn't even show up. It was a little weird. We even have our Riverside sheriff come down, and Kelly can't even, support that. But I'm just wondering when you're going to possibly put some kind of resolution forward. But again, right, Joel, that doesn't matter. And it's interesting you said that was a resolution that Nora brought forward. It was an ordinance. But when are you guys going to say that you support this and that you actually want this to happen? Or are you going to say, oh, it's not worth anybody's time to really just say that we're going to go ahead and protect our state from violent criminals who cross the border illegally?
Good afternoon, Oliver Twist here. And thank you for allowing me to speak in person versus on the phone, what I'd signed up for. So on my slip, I wrote accountability and accessibility. And I guess I will start out first with accountability. And that means holding yourselves to the same standards that you hold us to, or vice versa. And again, I go back to the issue of clapping. And I know your county council apparently has been on board and, trying to claim this is now 2 meetings is 1 meeting, and the shenanigans to just suppress our time to talk. It's ironic because Chair Lawson-Remer has said that the public comment and public speech, free speech, is sacrosanct. But I don't see that from the actions. And I'm asking you, again, some of you came from activist backgrounds, and I don't understand how you really can sleep at night where there is this huge double standard. And clapping is a form of consensus, of showing other people, maybe they're afraid to speak, but they can clap in support. That is their voice, and you are suppressing and denying that. Also, right now, I would like to talk about accessibility and your non-agenda comment. I was kind of a weird eye roll, Tara. Anyway, accessibility. And the incident for the non-agenda this morning, I had a very bad experience, and I'm actually going to move forward and file a federal complaint about this, because what happened is you have this system where we jockey for position to get in. I'm running out of time, but essentially the able-bodied can rush in and get in first, and the elderly or infirm have to take the elevator. I saw one of the top 10 or top 5 speakers rush up the stairs, even though she had came in the building afterwards. But by the time that Parita in particular and Cesar were able to get here, that is accessibility discrimination, and you need a better system that takes does not position the able-bodied ahead of the disabled or elderly. Thank you.
Hi, Catherine Rhodes, and I'm going to talk about John Brady. He's got a private property where he could put 5 mobile homes on right now. One thing that's fabulous is like in El Cajon, when you put that homeless people in the hotels in El Cajon, and the Attorney General Rob Bandit came back and said, yes, you can do it. You can put homeless people in the city of San Diego or the unincorporated. You have free reign to do anything you want. Again, we need one champion, one of you. Not one of you has helped. Why? Come on, it's been years. Please help us. What I wanted to talk about is, it's called the Roosevelt Reservation that Teddy Roosevelt made in 1907 when he was president. And so this is his proclamation. Setting aside of public lands as a strip of lands on the Mexican frontier, whereas it is necessary for the public welfare that a strip of land landing across a borderline between the United States and Republic of Mexico be reserved for the operation of the public land laws and be keep obstructions as a protection against the smuggling of goods between the United States and said republic. There's a 60-foot right-of-way. Right now we have the border there. We also have the road there. Altogether, they might take about 30, 40 feet. We have an additional 20 feet. Elon Musk lives in a tiny home in his starbase over, Texas or wherever he is. He is going to have those Tesla trucks, electric vehicles that need to be charged. He's got a great video where he has Starlink in these tiny homes. He's got power. He's got toilets that work, that's self-contained. We could put them across the border to help protect the border. We only need one person. Judge Stevens, please call President Trump. Thank you.
My person uses the name Audra. It's really hard to talk about something you can't find information on. And it's like, you guys could provide it, you know, Claudia. But why would you do that? Why would you want people to know exactly what's going on, right? And then you can tell them, you're off topic. How do you know what the topic is if the information is obscured, right? Do you like doing that? Or just giving nasty looks? I don't know. I mean, I pay your paycheck, but it's fine. Yeah, so it's like this could be so many things, right? It's like, what could it be? I don't know. Is it like against Joel for eating? It's been like watching a movie with Joel up there while he's eating spaghetti, gotten it on his chin, you know what I mean? And a little slushy. What kind was that, Joel? Was it lemon? Was it good? Oh, there was his eyebrow. What else could it be? Maybe, I don't know. It's like so many things, right? 48 seconds left to talk about being on topic, right? For information that you can't find, right? You don't know, right? I mean, you do, you don't. You do, you don't. I should buy a boat. I don't know. These jeans are hot. Have you guys seen Corky Romano? It's a pretty funny movie. What else could it be? I don't know. Am I on topic, Claudia? Is this on topic? Is Tara? There she goes.
Can you please pause her time?
Thank you. 15 seconds left.
Claudia, would you like to answer the question?
Sure.
Oh, great.
The agenda item for closed session today goes by the case name of Ivanova versus County of San Diego et al. It's Superior Court case number 37-2024-000223990-CU-PA-CTL. It is identified on the agenda by the case name. That
oh my gosh, you're so smart. But yet when you go and try and look it up, you can't find anything. Go ahead and start my time. Thank you. You're so nice to just read the title of it when you could actually provide information instead of being condescending to the people that pay your paycheck. Can't wait till you're fired and in jail.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.